Now, we're done configuring your EIGRP lab and your EIGRP SIMLET. Now, let's go to another routing protocol named ACL, Access List. First, we'll configure the lab, then afterwards the SIMLET. Now, here is the topology. And also, here is the Word file version of the laboratory. Nope. Okay, so here is the scenario. Security is being added to the Corp1 router. The user on host C should be able to use a web browser to access financial information from the finance web server. No other hosts from the LAN nor the core should be able to use a web browser to access this server. Since there are multiple resources for the corporation at this location, including other resources on the finance web server, all other traffic should be allowed. Now, the task is to create and apply a numbered access list with no more than 3 statements that will only allow host C to have a web access to the finance web server. No other hosts will have web access to the finance web server. All other traffic is permitted. Now, as you can see, on this configuration, here's the topology. Okay, I'm gonna use this one. Okay, so here's the scenario. We're gonna make a numbered access list, which will enable the host C to access to the finance web server, but through a web server. So it means that host C should only be the host that can only go through the finance web server through a web browser. And then the second one is no other host will be accessing the finance web server through a web access. And then the third one is all other traffic is permitted. Now, before we do an ACL, let me give you a checklist that you can use to master the ACL commands. So, first one on the checklist is the ACL should have a name or a number. Now, this is only in NA. So, in NP, you're gonna create a name access list. But since this is the basic, we're gonna use a numbered access list. And the access lists have 2 modes. The extended access list range from 100 to 199, and the standard access list range from 0 to 99. Now let's use the extended access list for this one. Now, the second one is we should have an action. We wanted to know if the host is permit or deny. Now the third one is we will use a protocol. Is there a host given? We can use TCP. Was there no ports given? So we could use IP. Or a UDP for a real-time data, and CMP for the echo. Now the fourth one is ACL reads from top to bottom. So we all know that if you wanted to permit something and then deny it on the second line, that won't be accepted, because once you permit something, then that is already permitted and you cannot just have it denied. So the fifth one is implicit deny, which means that all other traffics are denied. And the sixth one is Sandara, which means which interface should we apply, the in or the out. Let's do some hands-on work. Okay, so here it is. Access dash list. I'll just use the extended number 100, and then the action, and then the protocol that we will use. Since on this statement it says that only host C can access the web to the finance web server. So it means it uses a protocol to access the finance web server. So we'll use GCP. And then I'll just put host first. Source came from a single host, and then the destination is also single. So we're not gonna call any networks for this one. 192.168.33.3, and then host again 172.22.242.23, and I'll put EQ, which means it's for the protocol number, equal to 80. Now I use port 80 because by default web access, which is the HTTP, is port 80. Now if the statement says secured web access, instead of 80, use 443. Now that's the main difference with that, so please don't confuse the two. Now second one, it says here, no other hosts will have web access to the finance web server. So here it says that all other hosts. So this is 192.168.33.1.2.3 and .4. So it means the whole other host should be deny. So access dash 100 deny, then TCP again says it's port, and then host 192.168.33.0, then just put on the wildcard mask at 255, and then host 172.22.242.23, which have an equal port of 80 again. But since there is only 4 hosts on this one, you could also write this one, but we can just put it any. So it means that all other hosts going to that server will be denied. Next, this is the easy among the rest. So 100 permit IP, since we're pertaining to all traffic should be permitted, all other else traffic. So any source and your destination is any. Now there you have it. That's how you create your own access list. Now, in order for us to implement that one, since this host will be going to these 3 servers, I assume that we will be put the Sandara on one of the interfaces. Now, I want you to not be confused about this one, because some are implementing the access list on this interface, which is wrong. Why? Because this doesn't have any access list that is claiming that we should permit or deny us from going to that host. So we should implement it here in this interface. Now, by using this command, we'll implement the access list on the interface. Now we're just gonna view here. Okay, so as you can see here, it's in the interface FA0/1 of the router. Now, we're not gonna implement it here on the FA00 because it would be in, and the servers doesn't have any actions that will be going to the host. So, interface FA0/1 IP access dash group. We'll just put the access list number that is used, so 100, and then we'll just use the word out, and there you have it. That's how you configure ACL. Now, I wanted you to answer this one, and within a minute I'll be giving you the answer. Let's answer your ACL modification one. So in here I'll use access dash list, and then I'll use the number 101. I won't be using 100 anymore because it will overwrite what I have already created. 1, then permit. Since there is no port used in this statement, I'll just use IP as the protocol. Then the host 192.168.33.3, then going to the finance web server. Host 172.22.242.17. Okay, there you have it. Then the second line. Deny host B from accessing other servers. So use the command access dash list, again 101, deny. I'll be using again IP since there is no port needed in here. IP host 192.168.33 oops, 33.2. Oh, sorry, my mistake. That was .2. And we'll just give here the network for the other servers since it won't be pertaining to the whole network. Alright, 172.242.0 with a wildcard mass of 0.0.0.255. And the third one would be access dash list 101 permit IP any. There you have it. That's how you answer it. Now let's go with the ACL modification too. Access dash list. So a number that I will be used would be 102 this time. Permit, because it says only allow host C to access the financial web server. Then permit IP host 192.168.33.3 and with the host 172.22.242.17. Okay, next, not allow anyone else in any way communicate with the financial web server. So we must deny all other hosts other than C. So access dash list 102 deny IP any going to the destination host 172.22.242.17. And the last would be access dash list 102 permit IP any. Okay, that's how you configure it. Now let's go with the ACL modifications dash list 103 permit. So it says here that the hostee should be able to use a web browser to access the finance web server. So in here it says that there is a port number used. So we'll use TCP, then host 192.168.33.3. Then the destination host is 172.22.242.17. EQ, which is for the port, and then the port number 80. Then access dash list again 103. It says here other types of access from host C to the finance web server should be blocked. Then all access from hosts in the core or local LAN to the finance web server should be blocked. So we'll put deny here. Then I'll put the word IP. Then I won't be putting host because in here it says that all types of access except for the port 80 of the hostee should be able to access from the finance web server. So I'll put 192.168.33.0. Then I'll put the wildcard mask for it 0.0.0.255. Then I'll put the host since the destination is just a single host 172.22.242.17. Then the last part would be access dash list 103 permit IP any. There you have it. I hope the confusion is clear with this one because some students are really confused by this one. So please, if you have seen a big statement like this, don't be confused and just read and understand this statement carefully. Next, ACL modification 4. So access dash list 104 permit host C should be able to use a web browser to access the financial web server. So then again, we'll use TCP. There's a port indicated. Then host 192.168.33.3 with the destination host of 172.22.242.17. EQ port of 80. Then access dash list 104. Other types of access from host C to the finance web server should be blocked. So I'll put here deny, then the word IP because it says other types of host C, so meaning other than the port 80 of host C should be blocked from finance web server. So I'll put host 192.168.33.3 going to host 172.22.242.17. Then the last would be all hosts in the core and on the local LAN should be able to access the public web server. So I'll put access dash list 104, then permit IP any, then the destination is host 172.22.242.23. So there you have it. That's all.